Hello again, everybody, and welcome to You Bet CaneSport with Lee Sterling, our weekly look at the Miami Hurricanes from the betting perspective. I'm Gary Furman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by Lee Sterling himself of Paramount Sports, the place to go for all your winning picks, not just in football season, but basketball, hockey, UFC season, whatever season you want to create, Paramount Sports will pave your path to a winning betting experience. And Lee, I should put an asterisk on that, as long as you are not betting the Miami Hurricanes in the 2022 season, because wow, it has been a rough one start to finish. But you said Clemson last week. Yep. You obviously were right. This week comes with its own challenges. You got Senior Day. You got Miami needing a victory to go to a bowl game. The question, do they care enough about going a bowl game? And you've got Pitt coming on the road as a 6.5 point favorite in this game. And I don't think we need to waste any time talking about the Clemson game. Let's talk about this one. Right. And how do you break this one down from a betting perspective? I think it's very, very difficult.
Well, here's something. May not be as tough as you think it is. I don't know what they're doing when they go on the road, but Pat Narduzzi is 15-3 as a road favorite. Makes no sense. It's crazy. 2-0 this year. I don't know whether they're watching Remember the Titans, or they pick out a great movie to watch, or they just have fun. They do, Trivial Pursuit. I can't tell you, but some teams, they just go on the road and they bond. And did you watch the game last week in Pitt where they had all the birds on the field? They must have had hundreds of birds. They look like they were seagulls. I don't know if they're seagulls or what they were. They've been having this problem. They keep coming on the field, and literally they try to chase them off. And there's guys sometimes running with the ball, and there's hundreds of birds
flying around. I think I remember that once at a Miami visit to Pittsburgh. Now that you're mentioning it, yeah.
They haven't been able to figure out what to do to keep them. No, they're trying to eat stuff. Maybe it's worms or something on the field. I'm not sure, but it's the craziest thing. I mean, you would see this thing maybe like in the 60s and 70s. I haven't seen it in college football, the NFL, in probably 40, 50 years, but so be it. But they can run the football. That's what they like to do early and often. Their quarterback, Slovis, is inaccurate at times, misses receivers. They don't have many receivers, since they lost their star receiver to USC in the transfer portal, that can, really put stress on the defense. But they run at home. Last week, Slovis threw two of the dumbest interceptions. They had a punt blocked. They had a bad punt snap that gave Duke some life. But like I said, on the road, they're a different team. So I think it's going to be a fun game. I have a feeling that Tyler Van Dyke is going to play in this game.
You do?
I think he's going to play. I think they're going to put him in there. And I think both teams are going to be able to move the ball. I think Pitt's, though, the right side here. I think they win this game something like 42-32.
42-32. Wow. I'm not a doctor, but I was at Clemson Saturday, and Tyler came out to do his exercises before the game, and this was Saturday. Take a look at this.
Yep.
Now, maybe 7 days later, he lines up in the season finale with nothing much on the line other than a bowl bid and tries to pull one out for his team. But that didn't look to me like somebody that was 7 days away from playing football. And
have you ever taken a shot, the shot before a game, morphine shot?
No, I
have. And it can do wonders. So.
Well, I don't know what he took or didn't take in the Florida State game, but you saw how he pulled up that one time. I don't think he's got struck. And I think somebody said it's like a rotator cuff or something like that. It just is discomfort.
Right.
I don't think he needs surgery.
He may not play, but I think if there's a chance, I think he'll give it a shot. And I think you want to win. You could use these practices. They got a lot of young players that are really starting to develop, throughout the roster. And 15 practices is a lot.
Well, it
So,
wouldn't be 15 because if they win, they're probably going to go to a
right.
bowl game on the 17th of
Oh,
December, and they got to fit recruiting in there as well with signing day on the 21st.
maybe 7 or 8 practices.
Maybe 6 or 7, yeah, something like that. But it's still better than nothing. But
What bowl are they talking about if they can pull
I
off
know the Fenway Bowl very badly wants Miami if
Okay,
they win
okay,
Saturday. So we'll,
okay.
it's I think their first game, and they want the big name opponent.
You get home by Christmas.
Yeah, and but I think more than that, more than the practices, I think they just don't want the lack of respect of finishing a 5-7, having a losing season. If you win the game, you go 6-6, and you got a chance to go to the bowl game and finish 7-6. And for just a disastrous, horrible season, I think 7-6 puts a little bit of a happier face on it than 5-7 for sure. So I think that they want to win Saturday. Now, the question is, can they win? And you're saying they're going to lose by 10. The odds makers in Vegas say they're going to lose by 6.5 or more. So I don't know anybody that's predicting a Miami victory, but I do agree that they will want to win and they will try to win.
Hey, if Pittsburgh plays like the way that they played Saturday, there's a chance they can pull it off, So, we just haven't seen Miami play at that level too often. And in Pittsburgh, like I said, it's the weirdest thing. 15-3. I mean,
that's crazy.
It's cash money when Pat Narduzzi goes on the road.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying lay the points, Pittsburgh -6.5. Yep. The number is 43.5. I think you're saying take the over on the number. You're expecting a lot of offense in that game. All right, there's a couple other really good games to talk about in college football this week. So I'm here today on YouBet CaneSport to get some free Paramount Sports advice for our Canes fans here on some of these big games this weekend for those that bet. Let me start with Michigan, Ohio State. And Ohio State is a 7.5. That tricky half.
Right.
7.5 point favorite at home against Michigan. There is the question of whether Blake Corum is going to play. He was hurt. What are you hearing there, and what do you like in this football game?
So even if he does play, I think he's only going to be maybe 75 to 85%. I don't think that's enough. A couple of weeks ago, I was leaning Michigan, but all of a sudden, Jim Harbaugh is getting conservative. And if you watch the game against Illinois, there's pause for concern watching his play calling. If they fall behind in this game, and CJ Stroud is really good, 36 touchdown passes on the year. If he gets them off to a double-digit lead, I don't think Michigan can come back. I think Michigan needs to play with a lead like last year. In fact, I think at one point they ran like 7 or 8 of the same plays against the same linebacker for Ohio State. I don't know if you remember this. Ohio State they had so many injuries at linebacker. They moved a fullback to the linebacker position, and they ran right at him early and often the first 3 series, and they were successful. But I don't think they're going to have that kind of success. Also, weather it looked like it was going to be a factor early in the week. The early forecasts Sunday and Monday were for rain. But now all of a sudden it's changed. The rain's not going to come, it looks like, until Sunday. So it's supposed to be low 50s, sunny and clear. And I think that really favors Ohio State. So I think J.J. McCarthy's fine, the quarterback from Michigan. But like I said, I'm concerned with Harbaugh. He hears that 100,000+ crowd yelling and screaming at him. They fall behind by 10, 13, 14 points. Good night, Irene. I like Ohio State, 34-24.
I remember you're reminding me now of the playoff game last year when Michigan went and played Georgia. Yeah. And if I remember correctly, they went pretty conservative in that game also.
They did. Yeah.
And I remember thinking back then that this is the most flawed offensive game plan in a big game I've seen in a while. And of course, I didn't know then that the offensive coordinator, Josh Gaddis, was going to be coming to Miami. But I remember thinking, man, there was something that seemed.
Well, here's something about that. It was. But the 2 games before that against Ohio State, I thought he had called a masterful game plan. There was 3 guys that were weak on the Ohio State defense, and he targeted those 3 guys. Perfect. Then they played Iowa, and he found a couple weak links on Iowa, and he also used a couple trick plays. He called his best 2 games in those games, but his worst against in the semifinal game against Georgia. Now, I don't think there was any chance they were winning the game anyway, but like I said, you hit on a point. I didn't think he called a good game. I don't know what the plan was. If I was facing that Georgia defense last year, I would have been up many restless nights trying to figure out what to do. They really had no weakness.
Yeah, they were very good, and Michigan couldn't match up and finally ran into somebody that they couldn't beat. But right. I just thought that the whole game plan, I remember this is so flawed. Like,
it was one of those games. It was one of those games by halftime, it was over.
It was over. And I'm thinking, like, what in the world were they thinking? They're playing in a playoff game to try to play for the national title. What were they thinking coming into that game with a game plan like that? I remember thinking that. It's almost a year ago now. Yeah. But, that's stuck out to me. All right. Another big one this weekend is USC and Notre Dame. The Trojans are 5.5-point favorites at home. I think I know who you're going to say you like in that game. You have not been a Notre Dame fan this entire season. They beat somebody decent.
Clemson.
Yeah, I mean,
at home they dominated them. Yeah. But here's the problem with Notre Dame. So they play they want to limit the possessions here. They don't want 13, 14 possessions. I mean, if it ends up a shootout, they're probably going to lose the game. Caleb Williams is really good. He might be the best quarterback in the country. In fact, I think if they win these last 2 games, I think he's going to win the Heisman and be the front runner to be the first pick in the 2024 draft. Special. But their defense has some flaws. They give up a lot of yards. UCLA ran up and down the field on them. But they do come up with some timely stops, and they're plus 21 turnover ratio, number 1 in the country. So that part is impressive. The thing that concerns me is I just don't think, like Michigan against Georgia, I don't think that this Notre Dame team is talented enough to score 40, 50 points. I mean, their best win on the road was North Carolina, and now we can kind of discount that. North Carolina lost to Georgia Tech last week at home. So
that was
I thought they played that one great game, and Clemson was, who knows what happened to them that one game. I think it's going to be fairly high scoring. I think USC wins like 45-35. So I'm going to say fight on.
I'm watching Clemson play Miami last week, and I honestly didn't leave there thinking that they were that great. Like, Miami didn't play a very good game and didn't really put up much of a challenge, but I didn't leave thinking, oh man, this Clemson team's a playoff team or all that good. In fact, I think they're going to lose to South Carolina this week. What do you think about that?
So here's the problem with that. And Spencer Rattler last week had the game of his career, 6 touchdown passes. The line is sitting at 14.5. The 2 games before that against Missouri and Florida, goose-egged and 6 points. I mean, they either get on a roll or they are awful here. So it's a tough game. I think Clemson will probably win the game, something like 35-20. I have them covering by a point. But, that might be one of those games you watch and do some in-game betting, live betting. And if South Carolina comes down and scores early or it's 7-7, the offense looks good, then you can bet it live or bet the second half, and South Carolina might be the move. But I just think it's too tough to figure out, what South Carolina is going to do.
Yeah, you're probably right. But I like the way they looked this past week.
Oh, they look great.
and they look to me like a team that's like finding itself here late in the season. So if I were like at a sports book, I might throw I'd throw $5 on it or something, just to have a betting interest. I don't think I would bet the house on South Carolina for sure. Right. All right. And then, of course, those in the state of Florida, Lee, they want to know about Florida and Florida State. Florida State, and this just shocks me. Okay. Yeah. And you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. 9.5-point favorites at home against the Gators. Florida State's had a nice season. Don't get me wrong. I think they're 8-3. Are they 8-3 or 7-4? I think they're 8-3, right?
I think they're 8-3.
Yeah, they've had a nice season. They won a couple games they could have lost. They got the breaks. Probably are realistically really like a 7-4 team at this point. If you're like evaluating the level of their team, still better than what the Canes have done this year. The Gators looked horrendous last weekend. Maybe they're spending a little bit too much time negative recruiting against Miami and worrying about NIL deals for all the Miami commits instead of game planning for their games. But they looked horrendous. Like, I assume that's the reason for the betting line, Lee.
Well, Vanderbilt actually is a little better than people would realize. Vanderbilt almost beat Missouri the week before. They were playing another quarterback, and he got hurt, and they put in Mike Wright. This kid is a dual-threat quarterback, and he played really well in that game and played well again last week. So Vanderbilt's a little better than most people perceive. But Florida State's playing well, and they've got a lot of big play guys. So, I mean, they're in year 3 of the rebuild. Florida's in year 1. And usually when Florida is floundering, they have trouble in this game. So I like Florida State. I think they win this game something like 31-20.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Could be a shocker in the state of Florida, man. The Gators free falling at the end of the year just as they're going out recruiting. Could be interesting.
Who do you think Miami goes head-to-head more in recruiting, Florida or Florida State?
This year, Florida by far.
Right.
Now, normally I would say Florida State. This year, Florida by far is coming hard at everybody Miami's recruiting. I mean, they are going at it big time. It's gotten a little ugly behind the scenes at times and stuff like that. But yeah, it is quite the recruiting battle this year because the Gator Collective is trying to step up. Right. They are apoplectic about what's going on in Gainesville with the football program. And they just brought Billy Napier in, and surprise.
Sunbelt Billy.
Yeah, exactly. Like surprise. He's not the end all to be all. He's not snapping his fingers and, turning things around at the Swamp. And I think they're panicking a little bit, and the money is pouring into the Gator Collective. And that's allowing them to compete all of a sudden for these recruits. They got Jaden Rashada to flip away from Miami. Right. They're trying to get some other Miami guys to flip so far ineffectively, but I'm sure they're not going to give up. And it's going to continue to be quite the battle, Lee. We're just about at the hardcore part of recruiting season here in another week or so. So that's going to do it for today for You Bet CaneSport. If Miami wins and goes to a bowl game, we'll be back with Lee for another show. If Miami loses and doesn't go to a bowl game, I will beg Lee to do a bowl show to give the Canes Nation some insight on some of the bowl games. We'll see what happens there. But in the meantime, you see the number on the bottom of the screen, 1-800-400-9741. You can call Paramount Sports whenever you want. Many times Lee will answer the phone himself. And Lee, what you got any special deals this week?
I do. First, I want to wish Gary, you and your staff and everyone happy and healthy and a safe Thanksgiving Day and weekend. We have a lot to be thankful for. So life is short. Hug your loved ones, kiss your loved ones. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. My youngest flew in from New York City, so we'll have 19 people over and going to enjoy the day and be with them and watch a little football and bet a little football also. Anyone wants to have some fun, check out my Twitter at Paramount Sports. We have a contest every year. So my oldest, she makes a banana cream pie. The oldest was a cheerleader at Miami Sydney. The youngest, Brooke, the actress, she makes a blueberry pie. And I hear for the first time ever, someone who's coming is bringing a key lime pie that wants to judge. So I have to pick a winner. Ooh. So check Twitter about 7:00 tomorrow. We should have it up by then.
The winner of the family pie contest.
Right. The pie. And if you know the Sterlings, there's no ties. I'm not allowed. So there's always someone who's very happy and someone who's not happy with me. But love pie. And they're baking right now as we speak, and should be fun.
Who makes the banana cream? Sydney?
Banana cream is a 150 favorite every year.
Who makes that one?
That's Sydney. Sydney makes the banana cream.
I got to get that recipe from her.
Yeah, the only way is
cream pie. I love that.
You might have to. I'm going to invite you one year over for
a little
Thanksgiving. And unless it's soupy, banana cream pie is tough to beat. So Even one year we had huckleberries flown in. My actually all-time favorite is huckleberry pie. You ever had that?
No.
Grown in the Northwest, like in Idaho and Oregon and Washington State. A little bit like a blueberry, boysenberry kind of mix pie. It's incredible.
My berry pies, there's a company up in Michigan that ships the berry pies with Michigan fruit.
Okay.
Grand Traverse is the name. GT Pies. They make great fruit pies too.
Okay.
But I love banana cream pie, man. I got to get so she makes a good one. She's a good recipe.
Oh, she's got it down. So
all right, I'm gonna have to get her to send that to me. But
okay, we'll do that.
Yeah,
we'll bring you a pie, and they want to come on board. What a year it's been! We've won 12 out of 15 weeks for our clients. We hit our underdog play of the year last week. We have our college football blowout special going this week. On our biggest plays, our 40 to 50 unit plays, we're 4-1 this year. 55-19 the last 12 years. I don't think anyone can match that documented record. We have what's called our turkey shootout, 15 games from Thursday through Sunday, just $97. And it's an instant download. So as soon as you purchase it, window pops open with all 15 games. So you don't have to call me back daily. So you want to get on it. I like the card this weekend. Some games that not high profile games, some games that some teams might be quitting. Some other teams might want to put the hammer down. Check us out, ParamountSports.com.
All right, Lee. Well, happy Thanksgiving weekend to you as well. Hopefully it's lucrative. And Canes fans out there that are betting, hopefully it's lucrative for you as well. For those that will be at the stadium on Saturday, I will see you there. You going to the game this week, Lee?
No, not going to the game. Just watching it at home.
Week, huh? All right. Yeah. All right. Sounds good. All right. So for Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports, I'm Gary Furman. Thank you so much for joining us on You Bet CaneSport. We'll see you next time, everybody.